Welcome back to Real Talk English Pro, the channel where Alex and Sarah have honest conversations about the things that actually matter. And you learn real English while you listen. New here? Really glad you found us. Coming back? Thank you, as always. Today's conversation touches on something most people never talk about openly: failure. Not in a motivational poster kind of way, in a real, honest, slightly uncomfortable kind of way. Alex wants to try something new, but fear of failure has been stopping him for months. And today, Sarah is going to challenge him on it. This one is worth listening to closely. Let us get into it. What if it does not work? That one question stops more people from trying more things than almost anything else in life. Not lack of talent, not lack of time, not lack of opportunity. Just, what if it does not work? Today, Alex has something he wants to try. He has wanted to for months, but every time he gets close, that question comes back. And today, Sarah is not going to let him off the hook. Listen carefully. This conversation might sound familiar. Alex has had something on his mind for weeks, something he wants to try but has not yet started. Today, sitting in the park, he finally says it out loud.
You have been quiet all afternoon. What is going on in your head?
I have been thinking about something, for a while actually. I want to start a side project, a small one, something I have been interested in for years but never actually done anything about.
What kind of side project?
Writing. I want to write something, not necessarily for anyone else at first, just to see if I can. I have had an idea sitting in my head for about 2 years, and every time I think about actually starting, I find a reason not to.
What reasons?
The usual ones. I do not have enough time. I am not sure it is good enough. I do not know if I have anything worth saying. But honestly, the real reason underneath all of those is simpler. I am afraid it will not be any good. I am afraid I will put real effort into something and it will turn out to be average. Or worse, that I will find out I am not as good at it as I thought I was.
So the fear is not really about failing the project. The fear is about what failing the project would tell you about yourself.
Yes, exactly. If I never try, I can always imagine that I could have done it. The moment I try and it does not work, that possibility disappears.
That is a very common way of thinking, and I want to push back on it.
I expected you would.
Let me ask you something. What is the actual worst case? If you try this and it is not good, what actually happens?
I spend months working on something that turns out to be average. I feel disappointed, maybe embarrassed.
And then?
And then, nothing, I suppose. Life goes on.
Exactly. The worst case is that you feel disappointed for a while and then life continues. That is it. Nobody takes anything from you. You do not lose your job. You do not lose your friends. You just tried something, it did not go the way you hoped, and you learned something.
When you put it like that, it sounds manageable.
It is manageable. What is not manageable is arriving at 60 and realizing you never even tried. That regret is far heavier than any disappointment from actually attempting something.
That is a long way away.
The time passes either way. 2 years from now, you will either have tried this and learned something, or you will still be sitting on the bench thinking about it. Which version of yourself would you rather be?
That is slightly unfair.
Is it though?
No. It is accurate. It is just uncomfortable.
Good. Discomfort is often where the useful thinking happens.
Have you ever been through something like this? A proper failure? Not a small thing, a real one.
Yes, A few years ago, I pitched for a project I really wanted. I spent weeks preparing. I gave it everything I had, and I did not get it. Someone else did. And I was devastated in a way I had not expected, because I had genuinely believed I was the right person for it. And the rejection made me question whether I actually knew what I was doing at all.
What did you do?
At first, nothing useful. I withdrew for a few weeks. I told myself it was fine when it was not. I avoided thinking about it properly. And then, eventually, I made myself look at it honestly. What had I done well? What had I genuinely got wrong? What could I learn from it? That process was uncomfortable, but it was the only thing that actually moved me forward.
And did it move you forward?
More than anything going smoothly would have, because when things go well, you often do not know why. You just know that they did. When things go wrong, you are forced to understand the mechanics. You learn more from the failures.
People say that. I am never quite sure if I believe it.
I did not believe it either, until it happened. The project I pitched for, the one I did not get, led to a conversation that eventually led to a completely different opportunity, one that suited me better. If I had got what I wanted at the time, I would never have found my way to what turned out to be the right thing.
So the failure was a redirection.
In retrospect, yes. It did not feel that way at the time. At the time, it felt like a door closing. But looking back, it was a door closing so that a better one could open. Not because the universe is arranged that way. Just because when one path is blocked, you are forced to find another. And sometimes the other one is better.
Have you ever had a failure where there was no redemption arc? Where it just stayed bad?
Yes. I started a small business once, years ago, before my current job. I had an idea I believed in. I put real money and real time into it. And it failed. Not dramatically, just slowly and quietly and expensively. It set me back significantly, financially and emotionally. And I cannot look back on it and say it led to something better. It just failed and cost me a year and a fair amount of money I did not really have.
That is a harder story to tell.
It is, because there is no tidy ending. But here is what I can say about it. I learned more about myself in that year than in the 5 years before it. I learned what I was willing to fight for and what I was not. I learned how I respond under real pressure. I learned the difference between an idea I liked and an idea I was truly committed to. None of those lessons came cheap, but I have them now, and they are worth something.
So even without the redemption arc, the learning was real.
The learning is always real. That is what failure gives you that success often does not. Success can happen for all kinds of reasons, some of which have nothing to do with you. Failure strips everything away and shows you exactly what went wrong and where your part in that was.
You mentioned the difference between a setback and a failure earlier. What do you mean by that?
A setback is temporary, something that slows you down or pushes you back, but does not end the journey. A failure is when the thing itself does not work, the project, the attempt, the goal. Both are painful, but they are different things, and it is worth knowing which one you are dealing with. Because a setback just needs time and adjustment. A failure needs a more honest reckoning. What happened, what you would do differently, and whether you want to try again or try something else.
How do you tell which one it is in the moment?
You often cannot. In the moment, everything feels more like failure than it actually is, which is why you need some distance before making big decisions. Never decide you have failed permanently in the middle of things going wrong. Give it time. Look at it again when the dust has settled.
What about telling other people? When something goes wrong, how do you talk about it? I find that really hard.
It depends on who you are telling and why. With close friends or family, you can usually be more honest. Something like, "It did not go the way I hoped," or "I had to start from scratch, which was hard." With professional contacts, I tend to be straightforward but forward-looking. Something went wrong. Here is what I learned. Here is what I am doing now. People respond better to someone who owns a failure and shows what they took from it than to someone who pretends it did not happen.
Owning it rather than hiding it.
Always. Because most people have failed at something. Most people recognize the experience. What they are watching for is how you handle it, not whether it happened.
Okay, I think I need to stop using fear as a reason not to start. What I have been calling caution is probably just holding back.
What is the smallest possible version of starting? The one that costs the least and risks the least.
Writing one page, just one, to see what happens.
Then do that. Not a chapter, not a plan. One page. Tonight.
Tonight.
And if it is terrible?
Then I have one terrible page and a better sense of what I am working with.
Exactly. You cannot lose from that. You can only learn.
I would not change the conversations we have, even the uncomfortable ones.
Especially the uncomfortable ones.
That was a real conversation about something most people carry around quietly: the fear of failing, and what we lose when we let it hold us back. Now let us look at what you can take from today. 5 key phrases, 4 vocabulary words, 4 phrasal verbs, 13 things in total. Let us go through them. Let us start with the key phrases. These are natural expressions for talking about failure, risk, and experience. Phrase number 1. What is the actual worst case? This is one of the most useful questions you can ask yourself or someone else when fear is holding you back. It forces you to name the specific thing you are afraid of, and usually when you name it, it is smaller than you thought. For example, what is the actual worst case if you apply for the job and do not get it? Use this to challenge fear, your own or someone else's. Phrase number 2. I gave it everything I had. This means I put in my full effort. I held nothing back. It is important in conversations about failure because it separates outcome from effort. You can fail even when you gave everything. That is not the same as not trying. For example, I gave it everything I had and it still did not work out, but I have no regrets about the effort. Phrase number 3. It set me back. This means it caused a delay or pushed me backwards in some way, financially, emotionally, professionally. For example, the failed project set me back about a year, but I learned more in that year than in the 5 before it. This is a measured, honest way to describe a difficult experience without being dramatic or dismissive. Phrase number 4. I had to start from scratch. This means I had to begin completely again from the very beginning. Nothing from before could be carried forward. For example, when the project failed, I had to start from scratch. It was demoralizing at first, but ultimately freeing. This phrase is useful for describing any situation where a complete reset was required. Phrase number 5. I would not change it for anything. This is how you express that even a difficult experience was worth it. Even though it was hard, the growth, the learning, the perspective means you would choose it again if you had to. For example, that year was the hardest of my career, but I would not change it for anything. This is a mature, reflective phrase that shows emotional intelligence. It does not pretend the failure was easy. It just says the growth was worth it. Now, vocabulary words. These are words that come up constantly when talking about failure, resilience, and growth. Word number 1, setback. This means something that delays your progress or pushes you back temporarily. A setback is not the end. It is a bump in the road. For example, losing that client was a major setback, but we recovered within 3 months. Setback is more measured than failure. Use it when something went wrong, but the journey is still continuing. Word number 2, resilience. This means the ability to recover from difficult experiences and keep going. It is one of the most valued qualities in both personal and professional life. For example, what impressed me about her was her resilience. Every time something went wrong, she found a way forward. Resilience is not about not feeling the pain. It is about feeling it and continuing anyway. Word number 3, risk. This means the possibility that something will go wrong. Every meaningful attempt involves risk. For example, starting something new always involves risk. The question is whether the potential reward is worth it. Risk is not automatically bad. Calculated risk you have thought through, is how most good things get started. Word number 4, regret. This means the feeling of sadness or disappointment about something you did or did not do. For example, my biggest regret is not starting earlier. Not that I tried and failed, but that I waited so long to try at all. Regret about not trying is often heavier than regret about failing. That is one of the most honest things you can take from today's conversation. And finally, phrasal verbs. These come up constantly in conversations about failure, recovery, and moving forward. Phrasal verb number 1, give up. This means to stop trying, to abandon an attempt. For example, I came close to giving up after the second rejection, but I decided to try one more time. Giving up is sometimes the right decision, but it is worth knowing the difference between giving up wisely and giving up out of fear. Phrasal verb number 2, bounce back. This means to recover quickly and positively after a difficulty. For example, she bounced back from that failure faster than anyone expected. Bouncing back is the visible result of resilience. It suggests energy and forward movement after a setback. Phrasal verb number 3, move forward. This means to make progress, to continue in a positive direction, often used after something difficult has been processed or resolved. For example, once I had understood what went wrong, I was ready to move forward. Moving forward is a deliberate act. It requires having processed the past enough to stop being held back by it. Phrasal verb number 4, hold back. This means to prevent yourself or someone else from doing something, often used when fear or doubt is the thing doing the holding. For example, fear of failure has been holding me back for 2 years. It is time to stop letting it. Being held back is passive. Choosing to move forward is active. That distinction is at the heart of today's entire conversation. So that is your 13 takeaways for today. 5 phrases, 4 vocabulary words, 4 phrasal verbs, all from one honest conversation about failure and what it really means. Now, think about your own life. Is there something you have been holding back from because of fear? And what is the actual worst case if you try and it does not work? That is your practice for this week. And maybe more than that. That is everything for today. Tell me in the comments, is fear of failure holding you back from something right now? And what is the best thing that ever came from something going wrong for you? Those are the 2 questions I most want to hear your answers to. I read every single comment. If today's conversation resonated with you, you will also want to watch our video on talking about mental health. A lot of the same honesty, a different angle. The link is on screen right now. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do. A new, real conversation every week. See you next time on Real Talk English Pro.